What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. There's a special kind of passion that's shared between gamers and the worlds we play in. If you truly like something, there's no distance you won't go to try and make it better for others. This week, I want to take a special look at the games that started out a little bit broken, but thanks to their amazing fan bases, they actually grew to become truly awesome. These are my picks for the top 10 games fixed by fans. Number 10. SimCity. Sometimes developers are in such a hurry to get their project out the door, they can overlook the tiny details that completely break the game. SimCity was supposed to be a reboot of the classic town building series, which was long beloved. This featured amazing new graphics, added systems for us to maintain, and an online-only single player. Yes, as you might be thinking, that last part is where the issues pop up. In order to log on, SimCity needed to check the servers, which means that if something crashes at headquarters, the game is unusable. This essentially left millions of customers who purchased it screwed when the networks went down. Thankfully, a few very clever programmers invented their own patch that would bypass this online check, thus making it fully accessible to everyone anytime. Number 9. Doom 3. There aren't very many gamers that actually like dark shooters, but I really do. There's a different tone to the scary action that you don't see much, and I thought the original version of Doom 3 handled that well. While exploring the bloody corridors of this destroyed Mars base, you could choose between carrying a flashlight or a gun. This was an element that most people hated, so coders quickly made the duct tape mod. Now you can have both your light and your weapon ready at all times. This mod became so extremely downloaded that the designers eventually admitted their mistake and put it in the official game. This small improvement drastically changed the flow of gameplay and helped Doom 3 gain much larger sales, thus meaning that we got more games in the future. Number 8. Skies of Arcadia. This will always be one of my favorite titles ever, and yet, if you play the Dreamcast release of it, it does have a terrible flaw. If you are trying to get the strongest swords for every character, you need an internet connection to get an early piece of DLC. This would install an extra island to visit towards the later part of the story, and you could get the last item required for the best weapon in the entire game. Since SegaNet's been inactive for nearly 20 years, this makes obtaining the legendary blade now impossible. Surprisingly, a smart fan created a disc that holds all the DLC ever made for the Dreamcast, so now you can finally complete this epic quest simply by popping this into your console and snagging the update. This is a very genius workaround that I never would have thought of, and thus makes Skies of Arcadia finished again. Number 7. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. There's a special community built around fighting games that's really quite amazing to see. These talented bashers have no greater passion in the world than just crushing someone one-on-one in the arena. Super Smash Bros. Has a particularly hardcore following, but when Brawl came out, fans were very disappointed with it. This isn't a title that's necessarily broken, but it certainly lacks the sense of proper balance that made the franchise famous in the first place. Right as everyone was ready to give up and go back to the previous game, a team introduced a redone version of Brawl that they called Project M. This made gameplay faster, brought back some characters that were missing, and fixed the screwed up attacks of certain fighters. The polish they did here was so outstanding that loads of official tournaments started using this game over the actual copies of Smash Bros. Number 6. Halo 3. In the early Xbox 360 era, all anyone could talk about was Halo. The launch of it might as well have been a holiday for how much it was celebrated, but there was a glaring issue. It featured many giant, awesome match types, but there was a shocking lack of variety. Everything was just different variants of basic Halo mechanics like capture the flag or team deathmatch. Rather than just complaining about it though, fans began using the in-game map creator to build custom modes like Infection, where players must survive a zombie apocalypse. The skill and uniqueness of these new matches made them instantly a breakout hit. People were honestly spending more hours scoring headshots here than in the stuff Bungie designed. After realizing their error, they apologized and rolled these fresh modes into the real playlists, adding in extra cool ways to slaughter your friends. Number 5. Tales of Symphonia. For a long time, this RPG was very, very rare. It was only on Gamecube and finding a copy wasn't easy, so when it was announced that it was getting a second chance on PC, there was some positive buzz around it. The problem is, when we at last got our hands on it, it was pretty unfinished. Menus would glitch out, the graphics would freeze sometimes, and you could run into hard crashes occasionally that would force the game to just shut itself off. Immediately, people began asking for solutions to this rough mess, but the devs were silent. That's when a lone guy named Caldian stepped up to tackle the challenge. Somehow, he managed to throw together an incredibly complex patch that repaired this broken port, and he did it all for free. We can genuinely thank this person for the success of the game, because without his talents, Tales of Symphonia would still be nearly unplayable. Number 4. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2. In a galaxy far, far away, a stellar adventure took place that changed the path of gaming. The first Knights of the Old Republic was a landmark achievement in writing because of the decisions we could make in the story. It was an experience that really felt like it was being molded by us, and that no two people would ever have the same journey. For the sequel though, something seemed really off. The branching dialogue wasn't as fleshed out, and there was obviously a rushed ending. When the game had been out for a bit, fans started breaking into the core files to see if there was anything left in the game that was just there but not quite complete. Shockingly, there was. In fact, there was loads of data. All new plot points, extra characters, and tons of other stuff was in there. A team of modders decided to restore this content little by little themselves, even going so far as to record their own voice acting for the new scenes. We are now left with a majorly upgraded game. Number 3. Phantasy Star Online. The main conundrum with any awesome online project is that eventually you know it'll get shut off. When the company runs out of money or just gets tired of paying for the maintenance of their older games, they'll quit powering the servers, cutting out the multiplayer. Phantasy Star Online has a very passionate fan base that still enjoys teaming up with buddies and trekking to the bottom of dungeons in search of cool loot. It's a simple method of gameplay, but still very easy to get addicted to since there's always a new part of gear waiting for you in your next quest. When the SegaNet service went away, the community was still thriving and people desperately wanted a way to keep playing. That's when a mysterious site popped up called Stack. By using a Game Shark, you could manually trick the game into connecting to their private server instead of SegaNet. Now we can still log on, gain levels, and gather up badass weapons forever. Number 2. Just Cause 3. Being airdropped into a small country with nothing but a machine gun and a couple hand grenades would mean the death of most soldiers no matter how well trained they are. For Rico though, it's just another mission to take care of. Just Cause is a franchise based on the ruthless fun of total annihilation. Blowing up bases earns you money, unlocks new skills, and helps you find your targets quicker. While it is a great sandbox we're unleashed in, personally, I always thought it felt rather empty. Being this deadly alone removes some of the enjoyment for me, so when I heard that there was a mod that created co-op, I had to test it. In my opinion, this completely changes the series for the better. Using your wingsuit to fly between skyscrapers and nuke bridges, all with others, is fantastic. In fact, even Square Enix admitted that this was a perfect addition to their game. They recognized it as a must-have mod, and now we can all explore these lands with bombs in hand online. Number 1. ARMA 3. It seems military simulation is a genre that draws a very narrow kind of audience. They're so realistic that just goofing around and being wacky isn't really an option. The greatness in them comes from being able to actually beat assignments despite the overwhelming challenge. ARMA 3 is often considered the most serious of these hardcore games, but with the introduction of mods, the project began to morph into something else. For example, there was DayZ, which made these tense moments even better because of the fear of the undead outside. The ultra-difficult survival aspect of ARMA's gameplay fit wonderfully with this into-the-world setting. If you're craving just some super fast action, there's the Battle Royale mod. Players are left to kill each other in small zones and be the last man standing. That may sound familiar if you're into the explosively popular PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds because these were made by the same person. Basically, what I'm saying is we can thank the modders of ARMA 3 for influencing so much of the biggest games of the year, and for that reason, I awarded this my pick as the game most fixed by fans. Did your favorite repaired game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. You know, I never really talk about it, but I'm actually secretly a giant Phantasy Star Online fan. As you can see here, I have the very rare Gamecube game. I've got the very weird card game from Phantasy Star. I've got both the original Dreamcast versions of Phantasy Star Online's version 2 and 1, and on top of that, I of course have the complete strategy guide so that I can know all the best tips, some of the randomized maps. You know what? I like Phantasy Star. If you haven't played this, you should. Seriously, the Stack server is waiting for you. Oh, hey, I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.